why is this came up? Why is it even being talked about? Changing it to a 4-day week. Hello and welcome back to the McEwen Brothers podcast. My name is Jimmy. Today we have Gregor, and this episode is all about the work week. Obviously, in the UK, the standard work week is 5 days, and we're going to actually have the question: is a 4-day work week better than a 5-day? Gregor, what's your thoughts on obviously this sort of concept, and what's your sort of ideas of what you think it should be, or do you think it should change?
I think initially, from somebody saying, would you rather work a 4-day week over a 5-day week? You think, actually, yes, that sounds great because it means you have a 3-day weekend. So you have an extra day. Obviously, that sounds better. And I think, off the top of that, I'm thinking, yes, great idea. However, I think there are some pros and cons to it that we can touch on. My first point I think we could touch on, Jimmy, is it can cut costs for everyone, like in a way, like perhaps you don't need to have the office lights on, or they open the office on one day of the week. So then again, running costs are lower, and if that is multiplied by every business, surely that's also better for the environment as well. Less electricity, people are maybe doing their own thing on their day off. But then again, does that change across to people just watching TV in their house? It's a interesting argument. What's your
Yeah,
thoughts on that?
I think, well, personally, I would love it. I think I would really enjoy a 4-day week. Who wouldn't? But I think in terms of actually the reality of it, I think there's an aspect of there will be people, as you say there, who will just probably either go home and probably not do as much. And with society's way of growing up, you're surrounded by technology which forces you basically, well, doesn't force you, but makes you look at a screen for even more time and maybe not the right things to be looking at. But on the other hand, I do think that it will have positive impact on a lot of people. People will be happier knowing that they're only in for 4 days, and they'll have more time to sort of do things for themselves, increase their sort of personal happiness, and you have less complaints. And in return from that, you'll have people that will be willing to stay for longer. Employees will be happy to be in a company for longer, so you have the nutrition levels, which will also then cut the cost, as you're saying, Gary, can cut the costs for staff, but can also cut the cut the blah 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 blah, cut the cost for
Get
the
out.
company.
I think as well, you made the point that everyone's going to be happier, but if, say, you have like a major project that you're doing, and if the other countries are on a 5-day week, they expect the project to be done. It can also add a lot of stress to a situation. So I think it's dependent on the business type as well.
Yeah. Do you not think you'd be more productive though? Like like in my current work situation, I think for me is it wouldn't work because as a salesman, you have to be there when the client's there, and there's all about being available whenever people can come in to come into my work to obviously get toured and then signed up. Whereas for your work, I feel like that would work well. You do not feel like you could be more productive knowing that you're only on for 4 days and then you've got a nice 3 days off to sort of recharge. And even on your days off, it doesn't mean you can't do work. I don't think. I wouldn't mean like if you could do the little bit, but it would mean that you've not got the pressure of like every single
I
you know.
think it would be good to be interested to try it because obviously 5-day, if you think about it, why is it 5 days? Be interested to try it. But part of me does think that if other businesses around you are working 5 days a week, you're working four, they maybe have a competitive edge on you as well. It might stop you for the work that we're doing. It might stop us from getting clients or securing deals because they see it as a disadvantage of, oh, you're not in all the time. What happens if they need extra, like different types of staff might be have to work 5 days, such as support staff. If the business needs support or engineering support at a certain time or 24/7, that causes issues. You can't work. But I guess maybe that does that mean you hire people around the clock? Not everybody works Monday to Thursday. Maybe they work Tuesday to Friday. Is that your 4-day week or something like that? Because my initial thoughts is, oh yeah, you work Monday to Thursday, you're off Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
I th-
Yeah, I don't
well,
know.
my thing is with the 4-day week is the idea of it's not yeah, I think your point of basically you don't have to work the same time. Like you could actually do every staff could sort of, you could, it's throughout the month you just get your 4 days off, you're off for three, and just maybe it's varied. So people's weeks maybe start from like Thursday. So some people actually work the weekends, sort of 4 days, and then they're off throughout the week. That sort of aspect, which could work for like families or could work for different situations. But and also one of the things with this, guy, I think mental health probably became even more predominant in working life. Businesses have to take aspect of people have situations that happen in life. We've got situations that go on in the world that people can get anxious, stressed about, or even just generally have some sort of health issues that they have to be aware of. And one of the things I saw is, according to a charity called Mind, 1 in 6 of us experience mental health problems in any given week. That's quite a high amount of percent. That's a high percentage for people to obviously have some mental health problems within a given week. And I think there's an aspect of, with this 4 day week, it would reduce that health issues of mental health problems, that would give people time to work on themselves and feel probably better with themselves. I don't know what you think.
I think there's definitely merit in that. That having more rest time, kind of you would think would lead to fewer issues health wise. You know, um, you might have less mental health issues if you have more time to rest and recuperate from work, which obviously, depending on what you're doing, can be very stressful. But I guess all other aspects of maybe this doesn't touch on is that these mental health issues might come from different things, not just work. Whereas I feel like a lot of emphasis is placed on the work environment causing issues, where it might not be. And actually, going to work might be a source of release to make you feel better, and you actually interact with people and you see new people every day. I'm sure you echo with that, Jamie, in your job when you're meeting customers. You say yourself, you like to see new people, you like to chat to people, you like to see the face. If you were to basically cut it off for a day of the week, there's 1/7 of your, well, 1/5 of your working week cut off from not having those experiences. Maybe that affects your mental health, or you feel like, oh, I'm missing out on something. You get a bit of FOMO from work. I I don't know. It's not clear cut, but I do think there's definitely benefits for it. And the argument of having an extra day initially makes you go like, yeah, that would be much better for people based on that they get an extra day's rest to do what they want, and that can only be better, surely.
Yeah, well, I think the perfect things of obviously being around, so having that more time, so having the longer weekend will allow you to obviously just be with family, friends more, and do things that you sort of love. Like for me and you, I think me and you would probably try and play more golf. Like, how much more happy would you be if me and you could get golf at least once? Like, at kind of the moment where, because of the way the situation is, I can't travel from Aberdeen down to Edinburgh all the time. You couldn't travel from Edinburgh to Aberdeen all the time. But if we had a 3 day weekend, 100%, I feel like me and you would probably try to get at least once a month around the golfing together. And that would make me feel, I know for personally, I think I'd feel happier having more time with family to then go do these sort of things. Whereas on a 2 day weekend, you're like, okay, first day is sort of like rest, or you're doing things in your own sort of flat, just sort of getting your own things sorted. Whereas for me, 3 day gives me that extra time to then think, actually, do you know what, like, I actually plan something. Because I feel like the 2 days before you know it, you're back in sometimes. So, depending on what you're doing or what you've got planned for the weekend, if you already sort of just know what you're doing. But um, I think a lot of people said it yourself, Greg, in the last episode. I don't know if it's the same for sort of work life or balance and stuff, but procrastination. I procrastinate myself when it comes to organizing things, to do things at weekends. So I very much find a weekend for me can be, or a couple of days off that I have, aren't exactly as productive or as enjoyable as what I want them to be. Whereas I feel like the 3 days gives me that day to actually figure out that, actually, do you know what? Yeah, I will do this.
That's a really good point. I can echo that. If you have a day to, it's almost like having an extra Sunday in a way. Or it's like your Sunday is basically ramping up for the week ahead as well, where it kind of works on the flip side. It's definitely an interesting point to make about, your work is very busy. I don't have much time for myself. In the evenings, you're either doing, you're trying to do fitness or you're doing something else. And then you want to create that extra time that you can plan stuff that you want to do. And having a day to do that will certainly alleviate those issues, or that's added stress where you can actually feel like you're more productive. I guess that brings it on to the next point that, there's a study in New Zealand with this kind of company that trialed the 4-day work week. And what they found was that 78% of employees could basically more effectively balance their work and home life compared to 54% of employees before the experiment. So that's obviously quite a significant increase.
There's proven studies out there, and I think the aspect of like, see, our family with dad when he was working away his shifts and stuff. A perfect example is if mum had like 4 days, was only working 4 days throughout the week, that extra day could be organising stuff for us. So then she's less stressed at the weekend. And then they spend better quality time together because they're doing something that's pre-planned, organised, and it's not the same old every time. Gives that extra sort of time to do it. But obviously, the one with this company is obviously talking about the productive levels of it, and I think it's clear evidence. There's other companies that have done it. I'm sure Microsoft did it. So Microsoft Japan offices trialed it, and they saw a 40% increase in productivity. So it also shows that it's just more evidence to back that it works. It's some people have trialed it, but you wonder why are companies trialing it, and then it's obviously proved to be efficient. Is it not working in the long term? Is it because it was a trial period? People were like took use of it. Would it just become back to like a standard? Like would people just fall back into the same traps? Do you think?
That's a good point. I think maybe they will. Maybe it's just because it's a novelty at the start. It's a novel perk of the job or part of the experiment, and that's you make a good point with regards to people might just take advantage of it and be like, oh, I'm gonna have all these plans for the trial of 4-day week, and then if that were to continue, do they still have the same enthusiasm for it? Does that still have the same impact long term? Don't know. The other aspect is that perhaps they might get more enjoyment from work, so they stay at the company longer, and then for a company individually, it's better for them because they can retain their staff. I think that's perhaps an argument for it, but again, at the same time, I don't think it's that significant because people are pretty much changing careers a lot more often now, not based on the fact that um, an extra day off will make a difference. I think it's more about what they're doing at work, and if they actually enjoy the work they're doing, that'll have an impact, and obviously the benefits they get as well. I think that's more important on that front rather than, oh, at this company you get an extra day off a week. If you get an extra day off a week, but the other 4 days are not fun, or you're doing work that's not meaningful to you, you're not going to enjoy it anyway, so you'd move on. So yeah, there's two sides to it, and I think maybe a lot of the socials out there are claiming a lot of positivity around the idea based on this extra day that you get. Recruitment and retention is a good one, but like maybe when you break it down, it actually doesn't have that impact that you like. And like you were saying, Microsoft, um, you know, a huge company, very successful, most likely can pay a lot of their staff well, maybe a lot of technical work, so they get a lot, maybe perhaps get a lot of enjoyment from the work they're doing, and then that has a different impact. So, say if your local, I don't know, laundrette was to do the same thing, different type of work, but they might be more stressed because they're providing a service where they actually need to turn around products for customers quite quickly, or they might lose a customer. Big, say they lose a hotel chain because they're going into a 4-day week. That adds more stress to them. There's obviously a balancing act, and perhaps the argument is like, oh, why not hire more staff so you can fill the gap? It's a small business; they can't do it, they can't afford it. They're running on tight margins. So yeah, it's a bit. I don't know. It seems a bit unfair to some businesses, and kind of it fits really well for maybe tech as well as an argument.
I wonder if so. From your points there, I think good arguments to both sides. One of the things is I wonder is it just maybe companies? I wonder if, why is this came up? Why is it even being talked about changing it to a 4-day week? Is it because businesses aren't providing the resources for the staff to make sure that they're well looked after? Is it the aspect of this, environment that they're working in? Does the business actually need to reevaluate what they're doing for their staff? to then allow them to be more happy in the workplace, see that the retention levels increase, productivity levels increase by providing them with better things. I know my work's trying hard with this little thing now, with sort of providing us with treats. Every Friday, they provide us with some sort of treat to try and keep motivation in the club. All being it from like,
To everyone.
yeah, so it's normally in our staff room. We'll be given either like, so last week they do some for some food. Sometimes they'll put on some specific classes for us so we can go along and get engaged into the club. Yeah, they're trying to provide things for us, and I think it's a perfect aspect of it shows that they're trying. To obviously, because we have had a little bit of an issue of obviously retention, they're trying to keep the amount of staff in the club as possible, and they're trying to do that through providing us with things to help us feel happier in the workplace. And I think it is working. I think people are enjoying it, and there's maybe a lot to be said about that. Even little things can make the difference.
I think you're right. A lot of these sort of perks of the job or perks of way of working do help. When you're there, you've had a hard week, and then somebody comes in with like, oh, we've got these treats for you. You're like, oh yeah, that's lovely, and then you round off the week feeling good. The other side of it is maybe when you reflect back on it, you're like, oh, are they doing that on purpose? So I hang around for a job that they know themselves is maybe not the best. So that it's almost like, are they just doing that just for the sake of it? And like, if you really wanted to keep me, you would maybe, and obviously they maybe are doing this is like give me more training opportunities, let me progress in my career. I suppose people have different motivations, and it's obviously hard to cater for everyone in an organization. So these sort of perks where you get a nice benefit at the end of the week, or there's extra classes, or you kind of team bonding activities are always good. And you can't say that they're not good because as long as they're optional as well, I think that's key.
If it was something you could do, so like in terms of either improving the work, because the whole point of this podcast is for audience to understand. Every workplace is different. Everyone's going to have different situations. From our dad being in a high pressure situation, please, to me being a salesman, and Gregor, you doing your business development. Everyone's dealing with different situations in different workplaces. You're now working at home, obviously from the past few companies you work for. How have you found the transition from that, and do you think that's something that plays a factor to your happiness? Would you like to go back to the office, or would you be interested in that side of things, or do you quite keen on that side of things? This is obviously everyone's obviously COVID being a big factor of this, but what's your sort of thoughts on that?
It's a good point. I suppose that's another perk as well. It's turning more into perks than the 4 to 5 day week. But for me, it's a lot to do with the culture of the company as well. That drives a lot of how you feel and how you work and how hard you're working, how hard does everybody else work, and then that also feeds into one of the previous jobs I had was you got unlimited holidays. Well, not everybody took holidays every week because you get unlimited. It's more like there's a perk, it's available, but use it within reason, and that's kind of built into the culture of the business. People are there to make it successful. These are normally stuff of like startup companies where they need people who are driven to make it a success. So to attract talent is, they say they've got unlimited holidays, and it's almost like, oh, are you going to take more than what you would normally take? I don't know, arguably not. Some people would, some people won't. Like what you're saying, working from home is another kind of perk that some of these, more kind of tech companies are kind of pushing on. I think it's great because you have full freedom of like, kind of, nobody's watching you. You're sitting at home. I don't have a commute. It's very relaxed. But don't get me wrong, I still have the kind of cultural benefits of, we have team catch ups. I've seen my colleagues now, um, and you still feel like I'm connected to part of the community, the business, and the culture. And that's down to other tools as well. We use like Slack communication channel where you basically get updates all the time about all around the business. So, I know what some of the engineering updates are. I know what another part of the business that I've never worked for are doing just because of this Slack channel. And that makes you feel part of the wider picture as well. So that stuff, technology helps, especially when working from home. Um, And going back to the office, wouldn't mind it. And I guess that's another perk. There is an office to go to. Some businesses are just fully remote, no office. So yeah, I guess you can look at both ways.
Yeah, I would, well, I know for my last stealth startup I worked for a guy, obviously you know himself, out and about on my own a lot. I missed the aspect of being able to go, excuse me, can you help me? Like I need that assistance because I to develop myself, I need that other person to talk to face. Albeit I had Slack as well. It was a great tool to use to get obviously conversations with people, and it would always be like quick. The good thing with that is like it's quick to help. Obviously, not an office. If someone's like busy doing something, sometimes you can find they're not as quick. Obviously, vice versa, you can find the same in Slack as well. But yeah, it's quite an interesting idea. I think I'm enjoying being in an office, being in.
I'm totally with you. Like, say that you've come at uni, your last year or so at uni was, you're stuck at home. You want to have that environment where you actually see your colleagues, you have colleagues. And the kind of part of me goes, I do kind of miss that as well. Turn around to people having coffees at work, what are you having for lunch, you go out for, it's good to have that kind of, you'll get it as well as like your office jokes, right?
Do you really miss it, Gregor? Gregor has a electric desk now in his flat, just to make his life a bit easier, Gregor.
Yeah, but a lot of offices have that as well. Like if I go into the office, they have those electric desks so you can stand. That's not a perk as well. I got this desk through work, but highly recommend, by the way. Standing desks have changed my life. Um, but yeah, I guess bringing it back to 4 to 5 day work week. Are we taking that as a perk, or is that just like a way of operating?
I think it's probably more of a way of operating, and I think it has to work for the business. If the business can work around it and make it work for them, great. Do it for the staff. Give them that opportunity to try it, test it out. And I think the other issue is obviously I said from earlier on the trials. If it's just a trial period, it has to be something longer. It has to be like a year. Do you know what I mean? Like they have to do it for a long period of time to really get the data to figure out is this working. Because they might find a year down the road that the productivity's slumped. People are more thinking, oh, I've only got 4 days at work. I'm not doing as much. I've got 3 days off. Great, and um, that side of things. And then also, you could have the risk of people using their holidays quite wisely and making it a 4 day. They could be hardly working a whole month and be doing like 3 days, 3 days on, 4 days off, and then before you know it, you've got a member of staff that's hardly there, not getting engaged enough, and is just not doing exactly what is required for the job. Um, but saying that, that's maybe
That's a good point to bring up because technically, over a normal Monday to Friday job, they're getting an extra roughly about 50 days of holiday a year. Because it's one day a week. So then you look at it like that, you're like, oh, does that mean that their actual holiday time is reduced overall? I haven't looked into too much of that, but maybe that is something that a business obviously has to be aware of. Um, I guess maybe summarizing the cons, does it affect pay as well? The productivity benefits really only suit some businesses, we believe. Thinking about it, and then it needs to be maybe the 4 day week can't suit everyone, or you end up working days that you wouldn't normally work just to suit the business needs. There's also the the needs of the business, so it might not suit every business as well. And also, I think we haven't touched on is compressed hours. So I think there is a myth out there that you're compressing your normal 40 or 35-hour work week within 4 days. But the idea is you're still taking normal 7 days a week. So, sorry, 7 hours a week over 4 days. You're not working any longer, basically. So you are working technically less hours. It's interesting because, like we touched on, I am a procrastinator. Then you go, oh, if I'm finishing Friday, I need to get it done in 4 days. But I also think maybe people might just work secretly on a Friday, which will be good.
I think it's an interesting topic, and I would think we've kind of covered all bases with the aspect of what can happen if it's the pros, the cons, highlighted that yeah, there's benefits to it, but I think our consensus is that not 100%. For me, Greg, I would say we're not 100% certain that it would work. It's the overall idea is like it's great. It's got great benefits for people. It's probably dependent on the company, what they do, and what's up to. Like, I don't think it would work for like a big, like perfect example for myself, sales team. 4 days on, it's going to be quite hard unless you split the days. So like you were on like Monday to Thursday, and then someone came in from the Thursday to the Sunday. That sort of aspect, it could work. But what I'd like to do is I'd like to put this question to the audience. So if you're listening to this podcast, please go through to our YouTube channel. It's same Human Brothers Podcast, or if you listen to this on YouTube, thank you very much. What I'd like you to do is put down in the comments what's your thoughts. Would you go for a 4-day work week, or would you go for you would you stick with a 5-day? Or if you're doing a 4-day work week, it would be great to obviously hear from you as well. How are you getting on? What do you think? How's it? Is it if you had transition to it? But thank you guys for listening.
Jimmy, can I jump in?
Yeah.
I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
If you were looking for a job,
Yep.
and there was the same job spec, but the days were 4 days, another job was 5 days.
Yeah.
That was the only difference. What one would you choose?
4 days.
Okay.
Just because I want more time off, and I think within the 4 days, I think your idea of when you went said it back, the pressure and obviously getting the amount of work done. I'd say I'm not a fast worker. I'm not slow either, but I would 100% probably go for 4 just based off the fact you're getting, as you said, 50 days extra holiday is what I'd go for.
Cool.
Anything else, Greg?
I just want to say thanks again for listening, guys. And like what Jamie said, post your feedback, your comments, and answer Jamie's question on our YouTube channel.
Perfect. Have a lovely evening, morning, or afternoon, guys, and we'll catch you next week.
See you next week. Goodbye.